Comparison with the competition. The technological solutions adopted on our tractors guarantee extremely productive and reliable use. These solutions are shown to be even more interesting when compared to what is offered by the competition. The comparison can be considered on 3 levels. First level, a comparison between the basic technological choices of our product as against those of the other constructors. Second level, a direct comparison between the characteristics and the performance of each of our models and those of each of their direct competitors. Third level, a comparison of the list prices depending on the standard fittings and the optional extra accessories. Let us analyze a concrete example in order to reveal the significance of this type of comparison. Let us start with the first level and compare the most significant technological solutions of our product in relation to those of the competition on the European market by concentrating our attention on the medium range. Let us start with the first level and compare the most significant technological solutions of our product in relation to those of the competition on the European market by concentrating our attention on the medium range, that is, on the tractors in the 70 to 90 horsepower class. We shall start our comparison with the engines. Our engines have double cooling with water and oil, where a jet of oil is sprayed into the underside of the pistons and made to circulate around the bottom part of the cylinders. This results in greater reliability, less stress and heat expansion, therefore much higher output. The oil jet, essential for cooling the internal parts of the engine, is still today not available on the engines of such important constructors as Fiat, Landini, Carraro, Massey Ferguson and Ford. Independent heads, which provide for better cylinder tightness and a reduction in engine servicing time and costs, as well as in stock holdings of spares, are virtually absent from the production of Fiat, Landini, Massey Ferguson, John Deere, Ford and Carraro. The single injection pump immersed in the cylinder block represents a technological solution exclusive to our product, giving more effective uniform injection, better combustion and higher mechanical efficiency. Smoke emission is reduced, consumption figures are more contained, and the engine is livelier. The immersed pumps give rise to much speedier starting, without any risks of seizing up owing to impurities or water in the fuel. The engine can, furthermore, still function even in the event of damage to one pump, and servicing costs and time are also again reduced. The oil cooler makes the lubrication system much more reliable during the heaviest of uses. Fiat, Landini, Massey Ferguson, John Deere, Ford and DEUTZ have not adopted this solution. The dry air filter is clearly preferable to the oil bath filter, since its filtering efficiency is between 2 and 20 times greater, and is almost constant at all engine speeds. And filtration is still effective even when the filter is dirty. Fiat, Landini, and on some markets also the Massey Ferguson Series 200 are still offering the oil bath filter in their standard equipment. Now let's move on to the second level. Restricting the comparison to 2 models in direct competition will enable us to go into greater detail. Let us consider, for example, the 874-90 and the Fiat 1990. The engine on the 874-90 shows performance figures which are decidedly superior. A greater maximum torque, 2.3 kilogram-meters plus. A higher torque reserve, 10.8% plus. And a clearly lower specific consumption, 9.5 grams per horsepower per hour less, which means 1 litre less for every hour's operation at full output, and therefore over 1,000 hours, 125 pounds less. Let us continue the comparison by considering the transmission. On our tractors, we use hydrostatically controlled gearbox clutches, which give a smooth, gradual engagement and do not require any periodic adjustment. The majority of constructors, Fiat, Landini, Ford, DEUTZ and Carraro, still use mechanical control for this power class instead of hydrostatic. On the four-wheel drive version, we have a good 20 forward speeds. Almost all our competitors offer a substantially lower number. 4 speeds less on the John Deere 2850 and on the DEUTZ. 8 speeds less on the Fiat, Landini, Massey Ferguson Series 200 and 300, Carraro. 12 speeds less on the other John Deere and on the Ford. The synchronized inverter enormously increases maneuverability and the speed of empty return journeys. Fiat offers it as an optional extra. It is not available on the John Deere, Landini, Fendt, Ford, Carraro, DEUTZ and Massey Ferguson 200 and 300. Our four-wheel drive tractors are equipped with super reduction gears as an option in the UK and standard in many other markets. In the first super reduction at maximum power output, they have a speed of only 400 meters per hour, indispensable for special work using the power takeoff. DEUTZ uses super reduction gears only on their series DX4 tractors, while the other constructors offer them as an optional extra. Even on the two-wheel drive models, which are not fitted with super reduction gears, our tractors have the lowest minimum speed, 1.2 kilometers an hour. All our competitors have a much higher minimum speed. Fendt plus 0.2 kilometers an hour. Fiat plus 0.4 kilometers an hour. Landini plus 0.5 kilometers an hour. Massey Ferguson and Carraro 0.9 kilometers an hour. DEUTZ 1.2 kilometers an hour. John Deere and Ford plus 1.5 kilometers an hour. The speed of 40 kilometers an hour allows for a saving in time of 25% and a substantial fuel saving. This really indispensable performance is not offered by the tractors of Fiat Series 66, Landini, Massey Ferguson Series 200 and 300, Ford or Carraro, and is an optional on Fiat Series 90 and Massey Ferguson Series 3000. The gearbox with helical gearing represents the best that can be offered in terms of load strength and mechanical efficiency. Landini, Fendt and Massey Ferguson Series 200 and 300 still use straight-toothed gearing in their gearboxes. Pressure lubrication of the gearbox ensures maximum reliability, even under the heaviest load usage. The Fiat, Massey Ferguson Series 200 and 300, Landini, John Deere, Fendt, Carraro, DEUTZ and Ford still use splash lubrication. For optimum lubrication of the gearbox, it is essential to guarantee the maintenance of the physico-chemical properties of the oil. To this end, our models from 80 and 90 horsepower are fitted with an oil cooler which is not available on the tractors of Fiat, Massey Ferguson, Landini, Fendt, Carraro, DEUTZ and Ford. For the engagement of the power takeoff clutch, our tractors are provided with a hydraulic servo control which does not require any effort on the part of the driver or any periodic adjustment. Instead of this, mechanical engagement is still being used today on the Fiat Series 66, Landini, Fendt, DEUTZ and Carraro, and on some markets also on the Massey Ferguson Series 200 and 300. On steep sloping ground, in order to use heavy trailers, it is necessary for them to be equipped with a driven axle in order to exploit their weight for the benefit of ground holding. To this end, our four-wheel drive tractors have a power takeoff synchronized with the wheels, which is not available on the Massey Ferguson Series 300, on the John Deere, Ford or DEUTZ, and is optional on the Fendt. Our tractors are today unique in having two independent output shafts for the two power takeoff points, the 541,000 and the one synchronized with the wheels. We shall now move on to compare their brakes. The solution of oil-cooled disc brakes we have adopted provides greater reliability even during the most rigorous uses and prevents wear and overheating. Fendt and DEUTZ still use dry brakes. Hydrostatic control is another of our solutions to benefit both functional capacity, because it does not require periodic adjustment, and safety, because it guarantees a powerful braking action. Brake operation is still mechanical on the Fiat Series 66, on the Landini Series 30, on the Ford, the Carraro, and on some markets also on the Massey Ferguson Series 200 and 300. Another of our decisive technical solutions to benefit both safety and handling capacity is represented by the front wheel brakes, which we alone offer. The Fiat Series 90, John Deere, Massey Ferguson, Fendt and DEUTZ have a brake on the transmission shaft of the front drive, while the Fiat Series 66, Landini, Carraro and Ford have no braking device for the front wheels. Finally, our choice of a completely independent parking brake permits really safe use, even as an emergency brake. The Carraro tractors still do not use this solution. The four-wheel drive is a real feather in our cap. For total transmission of the power, we have adopted a straight shaft without joints. This solution has not been adopted by Fendt, John Deere, DEUTZ, Ford, and the Massey Ferguson Series 200 and 300. The Fendts, among other things, still use the lateral differential. The 50-degree steering angle, not found on the Landini, Carraro, or on some markets on DEUTZ and the Massey Ferguson 200 and 300, gives a greatly reduced turning radius. Our models in the medium range turn, on average, within 2.9 meters with the aid of the brakes, and within 4.5 meters without using the brakes. These figures are among the best of all tractor production. We shall see how the competition stands with respect to our product. Landini, Fiat and DEUTZ have turning radii without brakes slightly higher, 5, 6 and 8% more respectively. Fiat has turning radii 19% higher with the use of the brakes, and Landini 42% more. Massey Ferguson, plus 33% with brakes, the same without brakes. Fendt, plus 52% with brakes, plus 11% without brakes. Carraro, plus 55% with brakes, plus 22% without brakes. Finally, so as to improve ground holding and reduce compacting, we use bigger front wheels than those of all our competitors. Even on the two-wheel drive versions, thanks to the 72-degree steering angle with turning radii of only 2.9 meters with brakes and 3.4 meters without brakes, these figures are much better than all the competition, who present turning radii 3 to 38% higher. The Lamborghini hydraulic power lift is appreciated for its precise control, which improves the quality of work and reduces wheel spin by the tractor, thus benefiting productivity. Our original system relieves the strain on the axles. At the top link, however, the variations in strain are less intense and therefore less easily assessed. Top link sensing is still used today by Fendt, Ford, Landini and DEUTZ, and Massey Ferguson on their Series 300. The combined position draft control, essential in order to guarantee the best possible quality of work, is not available on Carraro, the Massey Ferguson Series 300 or the DEUTZ DX3. To continue along similar lines, a comparison of comfort would oblige us to dwell at length on numerous details. We shall, however, limit ourselves to considering one outstanding plus, which demonstrates just how much attention we pay to comfort. since we are convinced that it represents the foremost means for increasing productivity. Unique among tractor manufacturers, even on the less sophisticated models, such as those without a platform, we have adopted solutions such as wide running boards, suspended pedals, unobtrusive transmission boxes, and lateral gear levers, which do not obstruct the driver's movements and do make his work easier. Now let us move on to the third level of comparison. Compared to the competition, what more do we offer in our standard equipment? Often, when a customer reports the price quoted by one of our competitors for a tractor of comparable power, we cannot know precisely with what characteristics and which accessories that product was offered at that specified price. Well, on most occasions, it is sufficient to count up the individual accessories to discover that a list price which seemed very competitive is in fact substantially in line or downright less competitive. To give you an example, let us try to make a comparison between the standard equipment on our tractors in the medium range and what is standard on the corresponding Fiat models. Starting from the official price lists, let us consider everything that we offer, already included in the list price, but which is not included in Fiat's basic list price because they are considered to be optional accessories. Then we will specify the consequent price required by Fiat. The gear inverter is offered by Fiat at £240. To equip the Fiat with a 3- or 4-way auxiliary distributor requires a further £280. We offer synchronized hydraulic trailer braking as standard. On Fiat, this item costs £360 extra. Also, the weight support frame is standard. On Fiat, it is £140 extra. On our tractors, the standard tires are large size. To bring the Fiat to our standard costs the customer £100. Finally, Fiat offers front axle brakes as an optional at a cost of £380. Nevertheless, they are placed either on the transmission shaft of the front-wheel drive or on the front differential lock, depending on the model, and therefore they cannot really be described as four-wheel braking, as they can be on our tractors. We've already arrived at £1,500 to be added to the list price in order to bring the Fiat medium power tractor up to our standard equipment. It is impossible to indicate a list price for all the features which follow, which are not available on the Fiat product even as optional extras. It does, however, give the salesman the ability to estimate in each individual case with the customer the economic benefit which may be derived from each feature or accessory. Independent cylinder heads, double cooling system, single cylinder injection pump, hydrostatically controlled gearbox clutch also on the low profile model, gearbox oil cooler, servo controlled PTO clutch, maximum speed 40 kilometers an hour, epicyclic rear reduction gears also on the low profile model, hydrostatically controlled brakes also on the low profile model, 50-degree steering angle, suspended pedals and lateral gear change levers also on the low profile model. Then, considering the model with platform and cab, we offer as standard a fabric covered padded seat with armrests, arrangements for fitting a radio, a digital clock and 4 headlights. All this represents accessory equipment for Fiat, who require an additional £250 for it. Thus, we reach a price of some £1,750. From this brief comparison, it emerges that on the basis of the equipment which appears in the price lists and of the fuel savings, without taking account of interest on capital nor of performance on site, one can think about savings over the 10-year lifespan of a tractor of some £3,000, of which some £1,250 is solely the saving on fuel. This example, which refers to the medium power range models, enables us to demonstrate a way of comparing different makes, not only to emphasize the strong points of our tractors in relation to competitors, but also to calculate the cost advantages of choosing our tractors at the time of purchase, plus the cost advantages during their whole operating life.